All right, welcome back. So Ghana winning one and drawing the other, 4 points for them. They are top of the group, of course. The other group opponents in that group, Angola and Madagascar, they played out a 1-1 draw. So Angola also have 4 points, having won the first game against the Central African Republic. But Ghana scored more goals, so Ghana are top of their group as things stand. Guys, quick thoughts on this. A win and a draw, the opening 2 matches. Thumping victory, of course, against Madagascar. Otuado made 7 changes to the starting lineup that beat Madagascar for the game against the Central African Republic. They started well, scored an early goal, well-worked goal, looked comfortable for large spells, and then get hit on the counter, and they never quite were able to recover from that.
Yeah, you see, I agree with the changes, to be honest with you. I would have done the same. And the players themselves accepted that they need to go out there and play well. I wasn't impressed with Edmundo in midfield because I felt that he was overly casual for my liking. For a player who is battling for a position in that team, against such an opposition, you should have stamped your authority, played at a certain intensity to get your 2 wingers to fly. Because look, I've always maintained that anytime there's Bukari and then Joseph Pencil in our game, we've got proper wingers to cause damage.
Did you see that today?
That's what I've just told you where the problem is. We had serious problem with Edmundo and Chire. And of course,
what was their problem?
Their problem was that
too
they
slow?
were overly too slow. Because
or too elaborative?
Both combined. Because see, you are playing against a team that is more or less of a low-medium block.
Okay.
So tactically, the best way to go past them is to move the ball at a certain intensity, at a certain pace, and then get your players to run. Already, per the shape of the opponent, there were minimum spaces to be exploited. So if you dilly-dally and you dwell unnecessarily on the ball, you are just telling them to organize themselves and make themselves very difficult to be broken down. And for me, that is where my disappointment was.
What was wrong with this goal? How did we concede this?
Look, yes, let's say I blame the quality of the surface for
how?
For Afenijan inability to control
possession.
Yes, but if you look at the positioning of Jonathan Mensah, I agree with the texter. He's finished.
Okay, so here.
Look, the guy came from behind him and picked up the ball.
That's true.
He saw the guy come, so all he should have done was to put his hand across. A younger Jonathan Mensah would have outpaced this guy and would have done the simple defensive because the guy was coming from your left-hand side. So all you do is you put your hand across him and block him off. And then you pick, or Danamati will come and pick up the ball. He didn't do any of that. And you could clearly see him struggling for pace.
Yeah.
Which player in the Portuguese team, which player in the Uruguayan team, which player in this? Can you imagine Jonathan Mensah against Son Heung-min?
Okay.
We die.
Coach, relax.
No, can you imagine Jonathan Mensah against Son Heung-min? Can you imagine that?
Yes. Maybe. Maybe this is a one-off. Maybe this is not the regular feature.
So you can
maybe Jonah make one mistake.
You can imagine Jonathan Mensah against Son Heung-min. Master, you have to put me in.
Put you where? Into the game.
First 35 yards. Oh, no more.
You are telling me that Jonah can't keep up with Son, but you can.
This speed, I'll go past Jonah. At least I would have found that guy.
Coach.
No, all
now you're
aside.
just being...
all jokes aside.
Okay.
The fact is, you see, there's something we call on the marks, get set.
Yes.
Jonah, because of
that is called getting off the block.
That is it. Flat-footed. Yeah. You are not a Maguire. You are not a
Jonah
Maguire.
is agile. He's fit.
But he's aged. His problem is he's aged.
He's not that old. He's 33 years old.
Don't
That's not...
go there. When I'm saying, don't be mentioning ages. I'll mention age here. You say I'm causing commotion. Don't do that. Oh, Charlie.
This is so unfair.
Don't do that.
Do this?
He said don't do
that. Just allow me to flow. If Jonah is 33 years indeed, he would have caught this guy today. I'm telling you honestly. True or false?
Oh, coach, that's not fair.
No, then he's finished. If at 33, you allow the forward to come from behind you, go past you and score, then he's finished. So you agree with me? Then he's
No,
finished.
I'm saying, aren't there players who are younger that this player will go past?
Oh boy.
It's different. I don't think the problem was necessarily a pace matter.
Yeah.
I think his positioning was wrong in the first
That's
place.
easy.
And once he found himself on the wrong side, it's always very difficult to go
come back
around.
across.
No,
Yeah,
easy,
so
easy.
it's the positioning in the first
It
place.
was
If it was in the right
combination
position,
of
he would have
pace
seen it
and
and dealt with
position.
it.
He saw the pass. The guy was coming from this side. So you do this. You block him off. You just put your arm across him.
That's a
and
foul.
That's not a foul. That's not a
You
foul.
stick your hand out.
I'm not saying push him. So that he should pass under your hand. If the guy should pass under your hand. That's not a
We
foul.
have seen them giving. Could
No.
you
Not
give-
touch him. They block him off like that.
Yeah, but you block him, he goes through, your hand is right in front of
friend,
him.
if you are coming from behind me and I do this, you've got to pass under or over me.
If that goes into my face, it's a foul.
I'm saying across him. He's behind you. How does that go into his
Okay,
face?
that's fair.
And then two, look, is it Daniel Chere? Is it Samuel Chere? Is that the
Daniel.
Daniel Chere.
Kofi.
Kofi Chere. He must be spoken to. Look, Charlie, get busy. I was watching the Portugal-Switzerland game before we came here. I'm a worried man. To the coaches of the Black Stars, it is not compulsory that Isayaku should be introduced into our game.
But you've asked for him to be benched, he was benched.
That change of Bukari was completely unnecessary.
Okay.
And the coaching of Isayaku, granted, he's made himself so predictable, isn't it?
You just know what he's going to do. You can close your eyes.
You can just close your eyes and predict what he's going to do, and he will do exactly
So get the ball, cut
cut
inside,
into his
lines
left
up a
foot
shot.
and shot. What is that? Now, I am beginning to believe that because he's not experiencing the
He's
situation
young, so-
regularly at club level, he's playing for the under 23. Even there, he hardly plays. Can you imagine on the 24th day of November, we are singing the Portuguese national anthem, and then the players of Sporting Lisbon, who will be in the Portuguese team, they line up, and when they do this, it's Isayaku. They are under 23 player competing with them. Ghana is the only place that will happen. We want competitive players in our team. JC, the boy at Spezia, why is that boy not being given a look?
Yeah. Rumors are that he's contemplating retirement from
In
the national
fact,
team.
that is why I've raised the issue. If care is not taken this week,
He and Schlup.
if care is just taken this week, there will be 3 retirement, 3 letters of players retiring from the national team.
JC, Schlup, and who's the third
I
one?
won't mention it. I won't
Daniel.
mention it.
Quick
We have
thoughts
a
on,
serious problem.
on the on Ghana's game, especially today's result. You did commentary on radio. Obviously, 1-1 draw. They're still top of the group. No cause for alarm, really, but coach seems very worried.
Look, I'm first of all, I'm happy that Otuado made those changes to the starting 11. These are the sort of games that you can afford to make these changes and give players opportunities. You look at the time we have till the World Cup. We always talk about selecting players and not giving them opportunities. A game against Madagascar, Central African Republic, it provides you that opportunity for you to experiment and make these sort of changes and just see and give players the chance to prove their mettle. And I think today, the players who were given the opportunity will be very disappointed in themselves. Like Joseph Pinsel. I feel like, yes, the supply from the midfield was a bit slow, but when you have that skill, you have the pace, you have the directness, it should show.
Yeah.
You look at the
We
work
didn't
he
see
did.
that usual electrifying
At
pace
all.
when
He
he's had the
struggled.
ball.
Look,
So today, he himself, he would not have been pleased with his performance.
At
Yes,
all.
of course.
He clearly struggled, couldn't get past anybody, and it was also similar on the right hand side. But at least I feel Bukari had a much better game. Than
he did.
If you, yes, we can talk about Kudus not releasing the ball early, but I also feel it's, frankly speaking, when I look at it from the Kudus point of view, I don't think he trusts his teammates as much.
I think that is it.
And I sort of understand him to a certain level, because if you look at the first half, anytime the ball went out to the left-hand side, the right-hand side, there was enough. There was overlapping runs. There were enough options for both the wingers, Bukari and Joseph Pinsel. Even when they were unable to get past their men, there were enough options for them to pass and at least play the 1-2 and move. But they were, constantly losing possession. And it gets very frustrating when you're a midfield player and attacking midfielder trying to get moves to take. So I can understand up to a level. Another thing I also noticed about this team was once they conceded the goal, it was very difficult for them to get back into it. And you see, these things come with experience. When you get used to situations like that, when you feel you are in control, of a sudden you are pegged back and now you need to kickstart, it comes with experience. And for me, the lack of an experienced head on the pitch was also a serious problem, and a factor in what we saw, especially in the second half. For you to go back into the break, get spoken to, come back, and you can tell they wanted to push, but it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily blame the low block from Central African Republic because they started the game like that.
That was their game
but
plan.
there were still spaces. The Black Stars were creating spaces. I think it was just down to temperament and mentality. It was
and
just
the point
just,
you're making, it became even more apparent when they introduced Andre Ayew.
And exactly, you see,
and people were crying for Jordan Ayew. I'm like, hey, Ghanaians,
it's
hey,
funny.
Ghana for.
But you see, look, friends, when they walked onto the pitch, you could see
his 5 minutes.
It's just clear class and clear. He just brought that urgency back. It was like, I'm here, don't worry. Let's keep pushing.
A certain presence.
Exactly. There's a possibility that we can get an equalizer. But you see, these games, as I said earlier, these games provided an opportunity to make all the mistakes you want to make.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not necessarily worried because we are not at a stage. You see, the Portuguese have been with Fernando Santos since, I think, 2015.
Yeah.
He knows his team already. Otuado is still getting to know his team. And you have to be very certain when you are going to the World Cup. You have to trust every single player you are choosing when you are going to the World Cup. So for me, I'm happy he's giving them the opportunity. I'm happy some of these things are happening so that you can quickly correct the wrongs before the World Cup comes. We don't expect a perfect team from now to September. It will take time. And I'm sure that by the time we get to the next international window when we are facing Angola in those two back-to-back games, I'm sure the Black Stars will be in a much better state than they are.
So why was Wakaso included in the team?
There are still 2 games to play, so relax.
2 friendly games.
Yeah. And
they are going to use that one to market him.
Yeah, they're important.
Which team does he play for? Wakaso, as we speak.
Legon Ajax Park Trainers.
He's clubless. There is now national team.
Manasseh,
this is only done in Ghana.
A good friend, Manasseh Azure Ahuni says, I agree with coach that House of Hope should return the disgraceful medals. The players cannot show them to their children.
It's clear. It's very disgraceful, that medal. Very disgraceful.
The more you call for them to be returned, the more I want them to be kept.
To do what?
Please don't ask me. But we'll take a short break.